This is a plague tale, Innocence, Condensed. You play as Amicia de Rune, a 15-year-old French girl of noble descent. The story takes place in the year of 1348 in Aquitaine, France. You're in a forest, accompanied by your dog, Lion, and your father, Robert.
Go on, boy. You'll find the prey. I believe in you.
Don't get your hopes up. Let's keep going.
You find a boar, and you're determined to hunt it down using your sling. One shot wasn't enough to kill it, so you track it down deep into the forest, where you find its mangled corpse. Worried about what could have caused this, you go look for Lion, who's gone off on his own. You find Lion, whose hind legs are stuck in a hole covered in black substance, and he's consumed and dragged into the hole. You return to the de Rune estate, your home, and Robert asks you to go find your mother, Beatrice. You find Beatrice at her study, and she has a somewhat callous attitude towards you. She looks out the window and notices trouble outside, so Beatrice tells you to go find your brother Hugo and keep him safe. You find Hugo hiding in his room, and you try your best to talk to him.
Hello.
We haven't seen each other much. Mummy will be back soon.
Move! Come on!
You take a look outside and see the Inquisition, who have captured Robert. Nicholas, the commander of the Inquisition, demands to know where Hugo is, but Robert doesn't give him a straight answer, so he gets executed. The troops search the house and start killing the family servants, so you and Hugo try to find a way out. You bump into a troop, but luckily your mom comes to the rescue.
Where do you think you're going?
Beatrice leads the way, and the three of you slowly sneak out of the estate.
Don't die without talking to me first.
I'll explain later. Let's go.
I'm going to see.
Come back alive. We need you here.
Tactical espionage action. That noise. Better go see what it was.
Hugo is suddenly struck with a piercing headache, one of the symptoms of the mysterious sickness he's afflicted with. You make it near the exit, and a family servant shows you the way out. Beatrice tells you to seek Laurentius, a doctor that could cure Hugo's sickness. She forces you to go without her, and she's presumably killed.
Follow the river. It will lead you to Laurentius. Mother, no!
As you and Hugo run away from the Inquisition, the ground starts shaking. The two of you jump into a river and manage to get to safety. You arrive at a village, but no one's outside. It becomes clear that the village is contaminated and everyone is avoiding you. You find an angry mob of villagers burning the afflicted, and they start to chase after you.
This is the last village you'll infect.
Amicia.
Come on.
You eventually run into a dead end, but a kind old lady lets you into her house to hide. The old lady introduces herself as Clairvy. She explains that the village has been infected with the plague, causing everyone to become paranoid and violent towards outsiders. You hear the villagers outside, and Hugo starts to make some noise, so you tell him to stop. Hugo throws a tantrum and demands to see his mom. Frustrated with him, you yell back at him and say that both her parents are dead.
I want to see
Mummy is dead, Hugo. You'll never see her again. Or Daddy.
Amicia.
This obviously makes him upset, and he runs away. You chase after Hugo and find him being threatened by a big armored man. Having no other choice, you kill the man with your sling.
I bit me. Only death would stop.
Slings are a lot more powerful than you might think. Anyway, you flee into a church, and you're pretty shaken by the fact that you just killed someone. You find a monk, and you tell him you need to find Laurentius.
Do you know him?
Yes, I know him. I shall try to put you on the path to Laurentius's farm, but...
He leads you into a crypt where you discover the real source of the plague.
No.
The swarm of rats consume the monk, but they leave you alone because you have a torch and they're scared of the light. Further into the crypt, there's a black mold-like substance growing on the walls, a sign of a heavy infestation. You make it outside, and Hugo expresses his sadness over his mom's death.
I want to see Mommy. I want her to come back.
Nevertheless, the two of you carry on. There are Inquisition troops all over the place, so you make sure to keep a low profile. Nightfall arrives, and the rats dig their way to the surface, further hindering your progress. Despite all the obstacles, you make it to the farm and meet Laurentius and his apprentice, Lucas.
Who are you?
Magister Laurentius.
Stop right there. He's contagious.
Hugo... here.
Laurentius says that an ancient evil runs in your family blood, and it has manifested in Hugo. He urges you to find a way to cure Hugo, and tells you to head to the Chateau d'Ombrage,
Chateau d'Ombrage,
an old castle that used to belong to your family. Lucas leads the way to Laurentius' lab and shows you how to make ignifier, a projectile that makes fire. You make it back outside, and the rats knock over the distilling tanks, which results in Laurentius' house blowing up. You, Hugo, and Lucas escape the hordes of rats and narrowly make it onto a boat. During the boat ride, Lucas explains that Hugo has something called the prima macula in his blood.
The alchemists say it was the first corruption, and that it silently travels in the blood of certain families. The macula cares for neither good nor evil. It evolves with its host. to change things.
You arrive at a battlefield littered with corpses and swarms of rats. There's a few soldiers around that are patrolling the area, and you end up having to kill a few of them just to get through. Two looters that were caught by a soldier use you as a distraction as you sneak past, which results in you and Hugo being caught. You wake up in an English army camp trapped in a cage. One of the looters lets you out of the cage and introduces herself as Melly, the other looter being her twin brother Arthur.
This is all your fault. Where is my brother? Hey, keep your voice down.
You and Melly sneak through the camp while Arthur distracts the soldiers. You find Hugo trapped in a cage and Melly helps you free him. As you look for a way out, Nicholas and his troops catch up to you.
I pay a ransom for the Rune children, and I have to capture them myself.
Arthur throws an exploding barrel at Nicholas, allowing you to escape. You flee the army camp of Hugo and Melly, but Arthur is left behind. Melly brings you to her hideout and she expects some kind of payment for rescuing you and Hugo, but you got jack shit, so she's a little annoyed. You go to sleep and wake up to the sound of troops outside. Melly quietly sneaks you and Hugo outside, and the three of you evade the troops. You reunite with Lucas, who was being held captive. After passing through an aqueduct, you discover some kind of ancient rat trap contraption. Seeing how the rats are supposedly a new threat, Lucas ponders why the rat repellent contraptions were built so long ago. You finally make it to the
Chateau d'ombrage.
and the castle already has built-in contraptions that were designed to keep the rats contained. You move the braziers around, pushing the rats into a pit. After all the rats are dealt with, you take a well-deserved break, and the group decides to make the castle a temporary home. The next morning, you join Lucas in the castle's lab. He attempts to make an elixir that can treat Hugo, but it doesn't work out. You notice that Hugo's condition has worsened. Lucas explains how the prima macula will progress in Hugo.
The books say there are several thresholds in the process, and at each threshold, the carrier may be lost. Hugo is nearing the first threshold.
He also mentions a forbidden book named the Sanguinis Itinera, which could contain the secret recipe for the elixir that can slow down the macula. The book is located somewhere at the university in the city of the Bastion, which also happens to be near where Arthur's at. So Melly decides to accompany you as you travel to the city. When you arrive at the city, Melly tells you where the university is at and she leaves to go find Arthur. In the city, rats are swarming the streets and the Inquisition has declared martial law. The townspeople are being forced out of their homes and many of them have been executed. The Inquisition have also been wiping out the sick by unleashing the rats on them. You get inside the university where you lay your eyes on Vitalis Benevent, the Grand Inquisitor of the Inquisition. You're also introduced to Roderick, a son of a smith and the only one that knows how to open the door to the basement where the Sanguinis Itinera is located.
I do not wish for Roderick to expire before he has opened this door. Do not commit the same mistake you made with his father.
You follow the guards as they take Roderick to the basement's door. You slay the guards, which gives Roderick the opportunity to take down the last guard.
I don't know who you are, but thank you.
We need to leave. The other guards must have heard that.
Roderick gets the door open, and the two of you head into the basement. Inside the library of forbidden books, you find the Sanguinis Itinera on its own special pedestal, but Vitalis and his guard show up.
I know you, Monsieur de Rune. With your brother and that book, I can save the
That's
world,
enough.
Monsieur.
Come on.
Roderick finds a way to escape, and the two of you flee the university. You reunite with Lucas and Hugo at the castle, and Lucas is elated to finally have his hands on the Sanguinis Itinera. 3 weeks pass by, and Hugo's condition has reached a critical state. Lucas says that he needs a proper lab to be able to treat Hugo. Melly returns to the castle with Arthur, and Arthur has some news to tell you.
One day I saw the guards accompany a prisoner who looked the worse for wear. Those bastards wanted her to tell them where her son was, so... And I heard her name. Beatrice de Rune.
Mother is alive. She's alive.
So you tell everyone, in a very loud voice, not to tell Hugo that Beatrice is still alive. But guess what? Hugo overhears this. Hugo starts screaming in pain, so you decide to return to the Dayrune estate right away so that Lucas can treat him ASAP. You return to your old home with Lucas, and the rats have completely overwhelmed the area. The rats' behavior is becoming more bizarre. It's almost as if their actions as a whole are serving some ulterior motive. You find your father's corpse at the center of an accumulation of black mold, and all of a sudden, the rats emerge from the mold and attack you in a somewhat coordinated fashion. The rats take away your father's body, which you're not too happy about. In your old house, the family servants' bodies are being left alone by the rats. You make it to Hugo's room, which somehow remained completely untouched. Lucas doesn't find what he's looking for, but you mentioned that there could be something at the old Roman ruins nearby, so the two of you decide to head there. Inside the ruins, you discover your mom's hidden lab. It's revealed that the prima macula has existed for centuries, and that Beatrice came really close to making the cure. The rats swarm the lab, so you hold them at bay as Lucas prepares the elixir. Right when Lucas finishes the elixir, the rats stopped their assault as if they knew the significance of what just happened.
I've done it, and it looks like they know.
Back at the castle, you let Hugo drink the elixir. Hugo asks about his mom again, but you have to tell him that she's not coming back. You go to sleep with Hugo, and when you wake up, you see that he's gone missing. And none of these buffoons noticed until you brought it up.
Gonna tell me
Hugo!
about Rune.
I keep telling you. Have you seen Hugo?
You go outside to find him, but you trip and fall into a hole. You have a nightmare about Hugo, and it ends with him going away with Nicholas.
There is no one there. Come. Let us go. Let us go and see your mother.
Alright.
Hugo! Hugo, no!
So now we switch to Hugo's perspective. You're in some room in the cathedral, and the Magister has just finished drawing your blood. The Magister leaves, and no one else is keeping an eye on you, so you're able to sneak out of the room easy peasy.
When's it gonna end?
Wait, what's that?
Come on, be brave.
Tactical is peonage action.
After slipping past all the guards, you sneak a peek at Vitalis. The Magister injects your blood into Vitalis. Thank goodness your blood types were compatible. Vitalis wants the power of the macula, but because of the elixir you drank, the macula's power hasn't developed yet. Vitalis orders Nicholas to go check up on Beatrice, so you follow Nicholas. On the way to the dungeons, you discover a new type of rat.
Meticulous crossbreeding and a little alchemy has tempered their instincts.
When you get near Beatrice's cell, you wait until Nicholas leaves to go see her.
Mummy? Mummy?
Hugo, you must go. If they find you here.
No, I'm staying with you.
All right, Hugo. We'll go together.
Beatrice asks you to go find the key to unlock her cell. Being the brave boy you are, you retrieve the keys and reunite with her mom.
It's all right.
No one will hurt you now.
You complain about a voice in your head, and Beatrice figures that you finally reached the first threshold. She says to embrace the voice in your head, and you gain the ability to control the rats. Now that the rats are under your control, you're able to safely go through the cathedral. You eventually make it to the Grand Hall, where you're trapped by Vitalis and his guards.
I beg of you. I promise to help you, but allow my son to leave.
Vitalis wants to test out your powers, so he unleashes a swarm of rats and orders his guards to kill Beatrice. You're able to use the rats to kill the guards, but Vitalis isn't satisfied with the results. So Beatrice is dragged away, and Vitalis says he got plans for you.
I have complete faith in you.
Now we switch back to Amicia. 3 days have passed. Melly and Arthur found you outside and brought you back to the castle. A month goes by, and you've come to terms with the fact that you might not ever see Hugo again. You join Arthur and Melly in the middle of their conversation. Arthur was just saying how he wanted to leave the castle. In any case, you, Arthur, and Roderick go through the routine of lighting the braziers around the castle. Once everything's done, the rats overflow out of the pit and spread out all over the rampart, putting out the braziers. You get around the swarms of rats and reunite with the group. The rats get inside, and Nicholas and Hugo pop in.
Go and do what has to be done.
Hugo?
Come on.
You attempt to flee, but Nicholas catches up and knocks you and Arthur out. Nicholas takes you back to the center of the castle and orders Hugo to kill you, but Hugo hesitates. Nicholas does the typical threatening slow walk towards you, which gives Arthur the chance to push a pile of rocks onto him. You try to talk to Hugo, but he's still really upset that you lied to him about his mom being dead.
You lied to me!
Hugo, I was trying to protect you.
So you embrace Hugo and he quickly forgives you. Aww.
You did it.
Amicia.
You passed.
It's a nice moment, but it's quickly ruined because Nicholas somehow survived.
You are no longer any use to me.
With Hugo's powers, you fight Nicholas using the rats. The guy's a f***ing juggernaut though. He survives multiple swarms of rats and being set on fire. But in the end, he succumbs to the rats. The rest of the group joins, and Melly sees Arthur's dead body. Melly's pretty pissed. She wants vengeance. So the group decides to fight back against the Inquisition.
To the death. To the death.
You return to the Bastion, and the city's much worse than it was before. On the way to the cathedral, there are archers blocking your path, so Roderick pushes a cart to serve as cover from the arrows. You and Hugo make it to the gate unharmed, but Roderick is fatally wounded. Roderick opens the gate for you to get through, but he stays behind and perishes.
I'm sorry.
Hugo, come on. We have to go.
You arrive at the entrance of the cathedral and several guards come to stop you, but they have no chance against Hugo's rats. Inside the cathedral, you confront Vitalis, who's holding Beatrice captive. You walk towards Vitalis with an army of rats, but it turns out that Vitalis has his own army of rats also.
I saw it! Come on! Lucas! Melly! Stay there!
With Hugo's help, you face off with Vitalis.
I'm unity! I am the blood of blood that connects all people!
Get back! Stay with Hugo!
Die! Become one again!
This old man turns out to be an absolute unit. He takes 3 slings to the face before going down. After he's defeated, you embrace Hugo as Vitalis draws his final breaths. A few days pass by and everything has surprisingly gone back to normal, more or less. You notice that Hugo's presence has made some of the townspeople anxious. You join Lucas and Beatrice at a cart and Hugo asks why Melly went away.
She had other things to do.
That's not true, but it doesn't matter.
It's implied that Melly was afraid of Hugo, hence why she left. So the game ends as you go off looking for a new home. And that's it. That was A Plague Tale: Innocence, Condensed. Thanks for watching.